Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and frenemies, welcome to episode number 10 of the Simon Tefula Show. This show is all about real stories from real entrepreneurs, keeping it real. We demystify entrepreneurship, we break it down. We speak to inspirational entrepreneurs and creatives to find out what inspired them to start. How did they start? Like, starting a business is incredibly hard, right? How do people overcome this stuff, like this hardship, to get to where they are today? Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm so honored to introduce a friend, a creative, an innovator, a musician, a writer, an author. Look, he's so many things, right? My friend, homeboy, none other than Mr. Nate. Yo, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. It's weird being on this side.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, Nate is amazing. So let me break this down for you, right? So about 9-10 months ago, I went to a jazz gig, right? A jazz concert. I love jazz, right? I'm the jazz kind of brother. Anyway, I'm in this concert, right? And I see a brother playing not one saxophone, two saxophones at the same time. You heard that right. He was playing two saxophones at the same time, and I was blown away. I was like, what in the hell is going on here? So I made this little video on my phone, and I put it up on my Instagram, and it blows up. And then about, 4, 5, 6 months later, I'm at another event, and I'm talking to this dude, right? And then I said to him, he says to me, I'm a jazz musician, I play the sax. I was like, you know what, I went to a concert, a couple, 5 or 6 months ago, whatever, and I saw this guy and he was playing two saxophones. And I was like, let me show you this video. He's like, wait, mate, that's me. That is insane, right? So that's the story of how we connected.
That was crazy.
If you go onto my Instagram at Simon Tefula, you will see a highlight story in there of, you'll see this dude playing two saxophones at the same time. Some of you, I can't even play one instrument at the same time. Anyway, so that's how incredible it is. So, yeah, man, so that's Nathan. So first of all, how the hell did you get into music? Like, how did you get into playing the saxophone?
Well, I grew up in church, so that's music for me, every single week. And then as I got older, when I would attend rehearsals and stuff twice a week or whatever, that was the staple for me. You know what I'm saying?
What church did you grow up in?
It's a church called Ilford SDA Church.
Oh. I grew up in the SDA church. So for those that do not know, SDA stands for Seventh-day Adventist Church. So we believe the seventh day of the week is Saturday, not Sunday.
So we got church. We were going to church on Saturday.
Yeah. Oh, right. And it's a very kind of musical kind of church as well. So you grew up playing the sax, or?
Not at all. So first it was recorder, a lot of people start playing the recorder. Sprinkled in a bit of piano. Then really got bored of playing the piano, up to a point. You're playing all this stuff by composers who've been dead for 300-400 years, right?
Of course,
And it just wasn't relevant to me at the time. Of course, got really bored of it. Ended up quitting that, but I was playing the clarinet as well. Kind of progressed from the recorder to the clarinet. And ended up playing the clarinet for years until I was about 17.
Okay.
And then, I was like, I want to do something different.
Absolutely,
And then that's when I picked up the saxophone.
Amazing. Wow. So how long have you been playing the saxophone in total?
Oh, gosh. So now it's probably about 12, 13 years.
Wow,
now.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So the 10,000 hour rule works, right?
I don't know, man.
Because, for those that do not know, the 10,000 rule is this whole idea that in order to become an expert at something, right? You've got to put in 10,000 hours.
From Malcolm Gladwell's Outlines, but it's not. I mean, I think it was a Swedish guy, because K.A. Eriksson, I think his name was, who came up with that idea in the first place. I don't know how much I agree with it. It's interesting because you have someone like Tim Ferriss, I'm sure you know, who's got a totally different idea of it, and there's a clip of him talking about 10,000.
Exactly. 10,000 so it can be higher or lower depending on obviously your commitment to.
Well, I think the key is knowing what you want.
Okay.
What you want to achieve.
Okay.
I think you can get to a particular level of something if you know exactly what you're trying to get to. Tim Ferriss has demonstrated throughout his life, how I think he became a world record tango dancer at one point, in Argentina. And that's not because he put in 10,000 hours of work into it. It's just because he was like, all right, I need to learn this particular skill. What are the ways, and how can I, apply that 80-20 rule to get that quick. How can I do that really quick?
Absolutely.
And that's what he did, and he's done that in many different fields. That's why Tim Ferriss is who Tim Ferriss is.
Exactly. I think what Tim Ferriss does is he deconstructs every kind of skill set and breaks it down to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And then he really kind of just like I think it's called meta learning. This whole process of super learning something in a fraction of the time it would normally take you.
Yeah.
And I think he's been able to do this with languages and various other
With
skills.
languages, it makes perfect sense. It's like, what book was it now? The 4-Hour Cook. 4-Hour Chef. The 4-Hour Chef.
Oh, that's okay.
That book is dope, right?
Okay.
And that's the book where he breaks down the whole language. By Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
That's the book where he breaks down the whole language thing, and it's good. It's like I'd highly recommend that book. Of
course, I'm a big fan. Obviously, this is partly why I named the Simon Tefula Show because it's
the Tim Ferriss Show.
Yeah, exactly. So for those that do not know, Tim Ferriss is like the Oprah of the podcast world, right? Like he has crazy download numbers in terms of this podcast game. He's like the big kahuna, the big dog.
Oh, right? He's not the guy.
Oh, really?
No.
I thought he was.
No.
Who was it? Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan is the guy.
Joe Rogan's the guy, right?
Like, Joe Rogan is the,
amazing.
The other day I saw that Kanye's coming on his podcast. I'm just like,
you're blown away, yeah. But Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan gets those people you want to hear.
Those numbers, But Tim Ferriss, do you know what I mean?
No, Tim Ferriss is on another level, man.
Yeah, so the thing about that, so going back to this 10,000 hours, so you've been playing saxophone for 12, 13 years.
Yeah.
And now, you're certified, bona fide, qualified musician. You're ahead of the game. So do you teach as well? Do you teach young kids as well?
Sometimes.
Okay, so you teach as well. Amazing. And obviously, there's so many lessons that you've learned along the journey in terms of because learning a skill, like learning to play an instrument, kind of translates into so many different lessons in terms of life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, this then brings us to our next topic, which is you've written a book.
Yes.
There's a breakdown. So what is the book? What inspired you to write this book? And kind of just deconstruct some of the main themes in the book.
Okay, so first of all, the book is called I Wish I Didn't Quit Music Lessons.
Okay.
And when did it come about? So at the time, I think the genesis of the idea was born when I was living in Germany.
Oh, wow. How long did you live there?
3 years.
Okay.
I lived there for. And I remember, I was playing keyboard at the time. There was a period of 3 years, maybe longer, when I didn't really play my saxophone at all, right?
Okay.
And I remember doing some shows and, you talk to people afterwards, and a lot of people would, the first thing, you want to connect with someone, so you're like, do you play an instrument as well? Right?
Yeah.
And so many people would be like, oh yeah, I used to play piano, but I quit. I used to play, the clarinet, but I quit. I used to play violin, but I quit.
Yeah.
And so I think after a period of time, it's kind of like, hey, I didn't realize that so many people went through that issue. So I started to just write and, just writing. And at a certain point, I kind of looked at it and I thought, you know what, there's something here. Maybe I can turn it into a substantial thing rather than just a little blog post or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was the genesis of it. And it came out in May last year.
Okay.
And so it's not even been a year. It's still weird to say, I've written a book and all that.
Yeah.
But,
so self-published, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the whole theme around the book is, translating some of these lessons from, life, music journey to life, and this thing about not quitting, I really want to deconstruct this thing because how do you remain consistent? How do you remain persistent, insistent, and consistent when you're doing something that is quite difficult and not give up? What are some of the lessons you can kind of,
I think, I'll answer your question in the roundabout way, right?
Okay.
So one of the things that I try to bring out in my book is, for one, because my book's for parents, right? So it's really helping parents to give them a realistic idea of what learning an instrument's about. Because some parents never played an instrument before.
Okay.
Some parents have played and they've quit. So they're kind of living vicariously through their children, right? I want my child to learn because I didn't have the chance to, or I quit. So therefore you must, right? So that was one perspective on it. The other perspective of it is, I think sometimes when we quit things, it's not because we don't have the will to do it. It's not because we don't know what to do or anything like that. It's because we exhaust all the options we have open to us.
Okay.
And part of the reason why I think one of the reasons why I try to bring out in the book is just that there are more options available to you if you really open your mind and think about it. So, for example, that child, like myself, like maybe you, right? Started playing an instrument and then you quit, right? For me, it was, like I said before, it was about, there was music that I was listening to that I wasn't playing in my class. I wasn't playing at school. I wasn't playing in my private lessons or whatever. Okay. And you kind of have a sense of like, oh, I'd like to experiment and play that kind of thing, but I'm being forced to play Bach and Haydn and those guys, right? Yeah. And it doesn't really speak to me. I'm listening to hip hop. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, at that point in my life, I'm like 14, 15, 16 years old. I'm listening to a lot of hip hop, a lot of rap music. I'm like, this is what I enjoy. I don't enjoy this, but you're forcing me to play this, right? Yeah. And so it's at that point, it's like if someone had told me, you know, you can play the clarinet in that situation. You know, if someone had told me, like an example in my book where, you know, Dr. Dre's tune Still Dre with the cello. Okay. It's got a cello in there, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. If you didn't, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like that. Like, okay, as a young cello player, if you had no idea, and then you find out that it's like, oh, there's other. I don't have to just play classical music. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes it's not just about staying on that one path and not giving up. It's just opening your eyes and opening your mind to say, like, actually, there are more ways that I can achieve a goal that I didn't even know about. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. Amazing. Does
that answer your...
No, it does. That's incredible. So how long in total did it take you to write this book?
From the inception to the actual thing being out, like 6 years, man. Wow. And I don't think it needs to take that long. Right? But this is 6 years of looking at it, not looking at it, thinking about it, not thinking about it for a couple of years, coming back to it, being like, whatever, it's rubbish, forgetting about it, and being on looking through a hard drive and being like, oh crap, like there's something. What's that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
eventually, wow. Because lots of people want to write books, and you know the publishing industry has changed completely now, right? So you can self-publish because you know you can kind of just do something on your own, and this is the route you chose to do, right? Did you attempt to approach any publishers, like mainstream publishers at all?
Straight rejections, bro.
Really?
Straight rejections, like so many rejections. There's a point. Like, I'll never forget. I mashed up my ankle when I was in Germany actually, and I moved back. No, I was living in London. I went over to Germany, and I mashed up my ankle over there. I came back and I couldn't work for like 3 weeks or so because I just couldn't walk properly, right? Yeah. And I was working with young children, and young children, you've got to be mobile. Of course. So I remember sitting in bed and being like, all right, I've watched every single episode of Breaking Bad, right? Like, let me do something constructive. So I was looking through and I'm like, oh yeah, this thing that, this book, it's not really a book, but it's just stuff. Okay, cool. So I thought, all right, why not reach out to, I've got time, why not reach out to a whole bunch of publishers? So I emailed, I don't know how many publishers, you know, and they all kind of want different things. Some of them want it in the post, some of them want like synopsis, some of them want 2 or 3 chapters, all different things. So going through lists, emails, sending letters, all of that. Rejections, either rejections or just no replies.
Non-replies,
That's it. And then I got one reply, but it wasn't a great fit. I didn't really, there was a lot of things that she wanted me to do that I wasn't really to do, different direction, it didn't fit. And that was it. So that was that whole dream kind of, you know, being like, oh yeah, I'm going to get like 10 grand and I'm just going to sit here and write and then I'm going to publish and I'm going to be on BBC and stuff. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. Yeah, so in terms of, I mean, it's incredible because lots of people have these ideas to write books, but they're stuck in this whole mode. It's kind of like musicians, right? That want to sign for a record label. Yeah. And that model is almost kind of outdated now, right? Because you can pretty much do it on your own. If you put out great content and you build your kind of audience, you can eventually kind of begin to connect with an audience directly. And obviously you're a content producer yourself, like you have been building an audience of your own and you're kind of channeling your work towards your audience. I mean, you have a podcast, right? Yeah. Tell us about, I mean, obviously from one podcast to another, right? How did you start your podcast, and why did you? Because it's the same thing. Yeah, everything. Like I wish I didn't quit. Like,
where did that name come from? And on top of that, like, what have you learned from doing that podcast as well?
I wish I didn't quit. It came from people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
so
sometimes people say the best way to identify problems is to listen, man.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are saying. I wish I didn't quit. So I was like, okay, why not take that? And then I did my 1, 2, 3 reg search.
I know.
No one took it. I was I'm snapping that up real quick.
Yeah.
But essentially, it all came from the book. So as part of the book, obviously, it involved talking to people.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to get as much, content from musicians who were actually in the field right now as possible. So I remember there was one guy in particular. His name's Kaz Rodriguez, amazing drummer. And I called him up, and we never met before. We never, so I just kind of wrote him on Instagram. I think it was. It's like, this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Are you interested? So I gave him a call, and I remember we spoke for like over an hour.
Wow.
It was a great conversation, and I'm just learning stuff from him, and we just feed back and forth. It was great. And afterwards, I put the phone down, and I thought to myself, I've got an hour's worth of stuff here, and I can't use it all.
Exactly.
Because realistically, I can only put in like a paragraph, like 4 or 5 sentences max. It's a book, you know what I'm saying? So I thought after this whole thing is complete, after I've finished writing, it would be great to just record these conversations and put them out there.
Absolutely.
Because I benefited a lot from that conversation. Maybe someone else would.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah. Incredible. Because I went through this process, because I've worked in so many kind of co-working spaces, and you meet so many amazing people, creatives, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, like people from the professional world, and you have these great conversations with them, and you're like, wow, I wish someone was a part of this, right? Let's share this. And then you're like, okay, you know what, I'll just do it. Now, obviously, one podcaster to another, right? How did you get used to your own voice? Because for me, one of the worst things I had to kind of encounter as like a creator and as a podcaster is listening to your own voice during the editing process. Like, how did you overcome that? Was that an issue for you, or as a musician, were you already used to that?
Nah. It was totally weird.
Yeah.
Totally weird. But I think I went through a point where I was like EQing my voice way too much. Because I was listening to it and I'm like, I don't sound like that. Obviously I do, but because I hear myself like, I don't sound like that. So I'm EQing my voice, like I'm just changing this and I'm taking some bass out and I'm trebling. I'm like, it was, and then it sounded like something that I thought I sounded like, even though I don't. Right? So now I've just learned, this is what you sound like.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I have to EQ out, maybe take a bit of bass out depending on the size of the room and all that kind of thing.
Of course,
but essentially it's like, no, just that's what you sound like. That's what it is. There's certain things in your speech that you might do a lot. So make sure you check those. Maybe you're saying too much. Maybe you're using certain words too much. Maybe you're like this just now. Maybe you're pausing too much. So just just listen to yourself critically and be like, all right, if you don't like that, then try and take that out. Try and remove that. I mean, it must be the same for you, right? You're just.
Yeah, you know what? Because for me, like, I think the thing that has driven me is that, the message, like the overall kind of purpose behind doing this is much larger than myself. So it's almost like for me, like I'll kind of just push the bigger kind of, I think the motivation for me is, it's larger than you. It's larger than your imperfections. The wider context of what you're doing is it's much larger than yourself. So kind of just like, I think for me that's kind of helped me overlook the imperfections with kind of like my voice and kind of like my, I've got a bit of an accent, but for me, I think the thing I recognized was that, starting this was all about finding my voice, my authentic voice, and hopefully in finding my voice, I can help inspire other people to find their authentic voice and share that with the world. And for me, I kind of just thought like, I just do it, man. And I'm one of those people, I don't like procrastinate. I don't kind of like, paralysis, but I just do it. And then we'll figure it out from there, right? Just learn as you go along.
100%.
Yeah, man. So you play to massive gigs, you play to small gigs, medium-sized gigs. Like, what's been the most interesting gig that you've played at, or like it's something that's gone really well or extremely badly? Anything that stands out? Obviously, you don't have to name names, but like, and have you met any interesting musicians that are in the mainstream that we know? Like,
one of the most interesting ones, I played with Ed Sheeran. This is on
humongous.
It was live on German TV. back in 2017.
That's incredible.
And
how did you even end up in that situation?
It's a couple of phone calls, man. It was like, oh yeah, we need someone, blah blah. Can you do it? Cool. And it was just weird because like we kind of met before, whatever. Yeah. And I'd never done like live TV like that before.
You nervous?
No, not really, because it's just people, man. You know what I'm saying? So you do your job, and it was great. But I'm sitting there and like seeing the Nicole Kidman because it's obviously it's German, right? Okay. So they have like I think every year. It's a show called the Golden Camera Awards, and they have like 2 overseas guests coming every year. Okay. So this year it happened to be Nicole Kidman and what's his face, the guy from Colin Farrell. That's it.
Oh wow.
And I remember sitting there at the piano and I'm seeing these 2 there and I'm just like, yo. Yeah, that was crazy. Wow. And what else has been interesting? Being on the Netflix show The Crown. That was interesting.
Oh wow.
Because
were you like in the background somewhere or like?
Yeah, so there's a scene where and I don't know how much I should say about it. But
is it already out or?
Yeah, it's out. You can find like should be fine, there's a scene where the Queen goes to Ghana.
Oh wow!
And
they had to get some black folks, didn't they?
Real talk. It was like so I got there. There's a bunch of black guys that a lot of them that I knew already. Okay. So it was a nice hang. It was an interesting day. Like I've never been a part of that before. And you're there, and you're seeing the actors and actresses, and you're there. And it just so happened to be the case that where I was sitting, they got the shot of me like quite. So I was getting like messages like, "Did I just see you in the crowd? Did I just see you in the crowd?" I was like, I haven't seen it myself yet, but I don't watch it. I don't watch the show. Oh, I mean, I've seen the clip now. Okay. But I don't watch the show like that. So but that was pretty interesting. That was cool.
Were you playing an instrument in there, or were you
clarinet?
Oh, like clarinet. It's was it shot here? Where was it shot?
Oh yeah, it was like North London, man.
Oh, okay. Location shoots hours radio. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about is obviously coming from church and growing up in church and making the transition to secular music. Yeah. Did you have any people from church saying, "Hey man, were they judging you?" You don't
want to get into this. This is a whole other thing. But,
making that transition, because a lot of musicians begin off in church and make this transition. Yeah. You have the John Legends of this world, the Ray Charles, the Jamie Foxxes. They kind of begin off in there. So just give us an overall kind of what was that reaction like, and people kind of judging you, saying, "Hey, you're."
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Honestly, I remember being like when I was younger, being in church and playing. Yeah. And I remember playing once, and I got a few comments like that. Was you have to be careful. That was really jazzy. Okay. We shouldn't be playing jazz in church, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, cool. It's fine. Okay. What I've learned, is that people don't know what they're talking about.
Of course.
And what I've learned is that people. Okay, so for example, there was a guy who I won't name. Yeah. Great saxophonist. He studied jazz, right? Like proper stuff. This is before I was doing stuff. I'm hearing stuff. I'm just doing stuff. I didn't study jazz at that point. He'd gone to study jazz, and he studied jazz in the States. He came over back to England, and he's playing all over the place in England, right? And he's getting, everyone loves him. And I'm sitting there like, but he studied jazz. And I hear it in the music. I hear the jazz. I hear it. Bam, 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 right? But for whatever reason, they don't see it like that. There's like he's incredible. So ratings, but a lot of the stuff he's learned is from this very music that you're saying that you shouldn't play. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And I think there's like a point where almost like it's like the Bible, the prophet is not accepted in his own home. You know what I mean? It's almost like you kind of have to go out to be appreciated in some sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I mean, that's a different conversation. Yeah. But I mean, it just kind of keeps you, because if you know who you are as a person and you stay true to your own values, you just have to kind of keep going that path, because I feel like, the thing I love about music, you have this ability to touch people in different ways. And it's a cliche, right? Yeah. Music is a universal language that, touches and communicates with anyone and everyone, regardless of color, race, and creed. But the thing I love is that when you're playing that music, in that one moment, regardless of people's, color, race, creed, sexual orientation, you have the opportunity to unite people in that one single moment, in that song, in that 3, 4, 5 minutes, And for me, that's the thing I find amazing about your ability to be able to play an instrument and to play music or to write and compose and bring something to the fore, because that's incredibly powerful. Not many people have that opportunity to bring together people in a moment like that, And the other thing I wanted to find is, obviously, it's been a journey, right? What do you know now that you wish you had known starting out? Like, is there anything that you've kind of just thought, okay, I've done this for 10 years. I've been playing gigs for 10 years or whatever. Any particular thing that you think, oh man, I wish I'd known that before?
I wish I'd known the importance of having a plan.
Okay. Amazing.
I think it's very easy to just keep going and just to do.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do that.
Okay.
But as time goes on, and I think I only really learned this once I put the book out, because there came a point where I was just like, all right, I've got this stuff. Just, you can keep talking about, I'm going to write a book, but it hasn't come to a point where you just do it, right?
Okay.
And I think that took priority over everything else.
Okay.
So I wrote it, put it out there, then it was kind of like, okay, what am I doing with it?
Yeah.
How am I getting it out there?
Of course.
There was no solid plan behind it.
Yeah.
And even though, I don't necessarily regret how I did it, I do think that having a plan can help to maximize so many things in a much better way.
Okay.
So that's like for one.
Yeah.
And obviously plans change as time goes on, and as things happen, sometimes great opportunities come that you just have to take, right?
Of course.
But I think, when it comes to, social media, when it comes to who you're meeting, when it comes to when you're releasing stuff, if you're able to like see that all on a page or on a whiteboard or wherever it is, it's just going to help you stay a bit more focused. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
And also, I think it's equally as important who you work with. That's insane. Like who you work with. I wish, I even though I haven't necessarily had crazy bad experiences, but who you work with is very important, extremely important.
Of course. Amazing.
And along with that, I think it goes for anything you do, business wise. If you're working with people, you need to write things down. You need to make it clear what's going on from the start, because as time goes on, things change. And if you don't have agreements in place from the beginning, you'll naturally, someone's going to start doing more work than the other. One person's going to think of things going this way, and the other person's going to think of things going this way. Someone's going to take control and make a decision where you're not happy. And I've had that happen in a couple of instances, and that's of paramount importance. Like you have to make sure that whoever it is, your dad, your cousin, your uncle, whoever it is, your brother, your friend, someone you just met last week, if you can, write it down.
Have a contract.
See
a lawyer.
Exactly. Just have
Exactly.
something
Things
written
change.
down.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Cool. So, bruv, tell me this, right?
Yeah.
Like, being an entrepreneur and a creative is so hard, man. It's so stressful, right? How do you... For me, it is. That's what maybe for you to walk in the park, I don't know, right? But how do you kind of manage stress? How do you look after yourself? Self-care. What is your process of de-stressing and looking after yourself?
I take the pressure off.
Okay.
I've come to realize that things take time. You can't even if you work 20 hours a day, right? It doesn't necessarily mean the results are going to come quicker necessarily.
Yeah.
So I'm patient, and plus I think I've just thought about things logically and thought, okay, if this doesn't work, is that going to impact my lifestyle? No, because I have a career. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So my life is not dependent on this.
Okay.
I love it. I do it. I put passion and energy into it. But at the same time, I'm realistic. I'm like, yo, if this isn't paying my bills, I need to make sure I've got something else going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not stressful in that sense because there's a plan to it.
Of course.
It's going on in the background almost, even though it's not in the background. It takes up a lot of time. But
Maybe.
Yeah. But apart from that, I mean, taking walks. Just spending time with people. Going to the gym is a great one for me now. Like just the ability to go somewhere, headphones on, listen to some new music, and just work out.
Amazing. Wow. Because everyone has their approach in terms of. I've never spoken to a musician because that you enjoy kind of doing what you assume, right?
You assume.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Assumptions are the mother of all f-ups, as we say, right? So you have to kind of I had to ask this question because obviously for normal people that do 9-to-5s, normal entrepreneurs, it's a slightly different dynamic to that. So the other thing I was going to ask is in terms of if you to encourage someone, right? Someone has a dream, someone has an idea, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to them? What would you say to them to encourage them to kind of get the idea off the ground or to go after their dream? Any maybe 2 or 3 key tips to anyone that has an idea.
Write it down.
Okay.
Like maybe I'm showing I'm not that old, but like I prefer to write things down manually.
Yeah.
I just think there's something about that process of brain to hand to paper that's different to typing. Maybe because that's how we were raised by writing. You know what I'm saying? So maybe the new generation, it's that's how we feel about writing is how they feel about typing. So maybe it doesn't apply to younger people, but for me it helps to write things down because it helps to order your ideas. Because sometimes you're thinking a lot of things in your head, and it's like it's going to be great. As soon as you start writing it down, you start realizing, okay, there's a hole there. That doesn't make sense. So I say, write things down, and then start going from there. I'd say, do your research and get off the internet.
Okay.
Get off the internet. I think people are, even though the internet's a great resource, people put the internet up. So people, I think, should be your main resource, man. Okay. Like, there's stuff on there's stuff on the internet, Wikipedia, whatever. Yeah. But people have information, right? And I think sometimes we can get so stuck in sitting down at the computer and just trying to find stuff out where sometimes a conversation with someone is going to help to clarify things so much more.
That's true.
So I would say get out, meet some people who are in your field, or not even just in your field, because I'll meet you and you'll tell me something and I'm just like, yo, I can apply that to what I'm doing.
Yeah,
and we're in 2 totally different spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true.
So, meet people. What else? Be patient.
Good one.
Because, that saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. My book wasn't written in a month.
Yeah.
Your business hasn't the podcast numbers aren't coming after one episode. Yeah. For example, like we're talking about Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's on episode number, it's about 1,250 or so. It's 1,250 episodes or something like that. Yeah. Like, that's an insane amount of episodes. Yeah. Right? He's been doing this for years. Yeah. Right? And it's only in the last couple of years where podcasting has kind of blown up, where you're like, oh yeah, this Joe Rogan guy, he's been grinding for years.
Yes, yeah.
And podcasting wasn't even his thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's not even how he's a comedian. Yes. And he just started doing the podcasting, but it's taken a long time. And like Bill Gates didn't wake up and was Bill Gates. It took him years. It takes everyone time. So I think you have to take the pressure off. If things don't happen in 3 months, it's okay. If it doesn't happen in 6 years, it's okay. Part of my book, just bring it back to that, talks about, if some people feel like they're too old to do something. It's all about time, right? Yeah. And, Al Jarreau, I don't know if you've heard of Al Jarreau. Of course. Yeah. His debut album came out when he was 35 years old. Yeah. And he went on to win Grammys. The oldest man to win a Grammy, the oldest person, I think, to win a Grammy. He was 97 years old.
Wow.
Right. So imagine waiting your whole life. You're 97 years old and you win a Grammy. Things take time. So take the pressure off, be patient with it. Yeah. Keep going. But, don't forget to live. Yeah.
That's deep, bro. That's deep. Wow. It's incredible. So the other thing I was going to ask is that, if like you meet somebody and somebody says to you, hey man, like, I'm doing this podcast. I'm like, because a lot of trends come and go, right? Yeah. Like a lot of things, like podcasting is hot right now. Like, YouTube was hot at one point. You've got Instagram, TV now, like, because a lot of people are trying to figure out how do I create content and, how do I put it out there? Like, what's your take on the platforms in terms of content out there right now? Like, how does someone begin to create content for any specific platform,
I wish I knew. I'm not going to sit here and say exactly. I don't have all the answers, man.
The key thing is just don't quit. Just try and figure out, keep going.
I think the key thing is you have to be clever with it. So, I think like from my book, right? Instagram's not the one for it. Because the people I'm trying to reach are not like avid Instagram users like that. They're so for me to put all my energy into like making pretty posts and stuff, it doesn't make that much sense.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So I think you just have to be smart with like who you're trying to get. And then in terms of content, I think sometimes you just gotta try and make different things to see what works. Yeah. Analytics are your friend, man. Like, I know, right? You see, all right.
Thank you so much for recommending that analytic tool for the podcast numbers, because I've incorporated that. And it breaks it down really well. And then once you begin to see those numbers, then you can figure out, okay, this is where and how it works best. And let me focus in on that. So you're right. Analytics are your friend, right?
Yeah. You got to make sure. I think that's one thing as well. Like there's a lot you have to do the analysis, man. You have to look at the numbers, look at the figures, and be like, all right, people are coming. Where's my hot landing spot on my website? You know what I mean? So like, how can I make sure that I'm getting my customers like probably through there?
Yeah.
You know what? When I play my instrument, right? What songs do people like the most?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At what parts do they really enjoy? Are they really love the bass solo? Yeah. All right, maybe we need to do a couple more of those. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like
really
there's a part where you create, and there's a part where you step back and analyze and be like, all right, that's cool, but how can I make this better?
Yeah, that's what me and my producer are doing over the next week. We're analyzing the numbers and kind of ramping up things and refining for season 2 of the Simon Tefula Show.
That's what's up. So I'll be locked in. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, honestly, thank you so much. Because you've been a huge supporter. You've encouraged me. You've kind of kept me in check and said, hey man, maybe you need to do this. Maybe you need to do that. Don't worry too much about it. It's like, just go ahead. And when I started on this journey, because initially one of the things I was worried about was I felt I wasn't adequate enough to carry the show on my own. I thought, oh, maybe I need a co-host. I'm like, but I was like, what the hell? Just roll with it. Just do it, man. And you encouraged me to do that. So for that, I'm really grateful. Because, we all have doubts tonight. We all want to present ourselves to the world as like a finished article and a finished product. But actually, it's in the creative process and kind of just being open and authentic that, So I'm really grateful to that. So I wanted to ask you a few more questions. One is, do you have a piece of tech that you love or can't do without in your day-to-day lives? Like, what's that one piece of tech? Is there anything that...
My computer.
Your computer?
Yeah,
right?
my laptop.
Because you do everything with that?
Yeah,
okay.
Simple, yeah.
Amazing. And is there a book that you've read recently or, through the course of your life that has impacted you the most or kind of like changed your life the most? I'm sure there's loads, including the one you've written, but
there's a whole bunch, man.
Yeah. Maybe just share one or two that, because obviously part of our audience is a reading audience, so.
Anything by Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
Just anything by him is great.
Yeah.
Specifically, I'd say Outliers is really good, and Blink.
Yeah.
Are very good.
Yeah.
What else has been really good?
Emotional Intelligence, I think, was good as well, right?
Emotional Intelligence.
Was that Malcolm Gladwell? That's Malcolm. Yeah.
I don't think so.
No?
Emotional Intelligence.
Was that?
Unless I've missed one.
Yeah. Malcolm Gladwell, right?
Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah.
He wrote a book about emotional intelligence that I read ages ago. I'm sure it was called Emotional Intelligence. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. Any book by Malcolm Gladwell? Anything else?
The autobiography of Malcolm X.
Oh wow.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
There's a book called The Secret Power of Music by David Tame, which blew my mind when I read that. What else has there been? Oh my gosh. There's a book called Unpeople by Mark Curtis.
Okay.
Which is great. It's totally like off topic. It's all about Britain's foreign policy. Okay. And it's insane. Like the stuff that Britain has done around the world, it's insane. it's just opened my mind up to so many things that that
absolutely.
I didn't know about, and living in this country, and then we're not taught. That's a whole other podcast. Go into that.
Don't worry, we'll have you back on that.
And Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, of course, that's incredible. I mean, that's one of those books everyone like really talks about. Did you read both of them, the first one and the second one, or
First one?
The first one, okay. Oh, cool.
Who Moved My Cheese is also very good.
Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's that about?
It's the premise of the book is it's all through the eyes of mice, but essentially it's you have some people who, when the situation changes, some people, when the situation changes, they stay in that situation like panic, and they don't really move because they don't know what to do. You have other people who, when the situation changes, they'll try and they'll find ways to adapt along the way, and there are others who will see the situation is going to change and make provisions for when it changes, right? Okay. So it's just preparing you that this business partner might mess you up, or your job might you might get released from your job. So it's all about just making sure that you've got things in place that you can fall back on at all points in time. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
Check it out. You can read it in a few hours. Like it's a great book.
Wow. So like on my Instagram, I have been doing this thing called Simon Says, right? So, it's a segment where it's like Monday mornings, 1 minute of motivation, inspiration, and encouragement.
They've been great.
Yeah.
They've been good.
Yeah, and I've tried to I've remained consistent for about 35 weeks now. I do it every Monday morning, right?
How does it feel when you do it?
It's incredible. I mean, I can see you're turning this interview right now, but yeah.
Sorry,
it's amazing. I love it. Yeah, exactly, right? For me, it's almost like affirmations to myself.
Yeah.
So it's a way for me to encourage myself. I actually watched this video because these are things I say to myself, because I discovered that nobody was coming to save me. There wasn't always somebody there to give me a pat on the back and say well done and encourage. So I always encourage myself, and I think it was by saying these things to myself that I thought, okay, let me just record this and put this out, and if it can impact just one person, right, then I've done something, right? And the whole thing of having impact, I thought, okay, let me just put it out there, and it makes me feel empowered. It makes me feel like I'm giving something back to society, and it's great when I hear people say, "Man, I watched that, and this is great. Like I needed to hear this today." But yeah, for me, it's something that's really, it's not to sound selfish, but it's something I've been doing for myself for a long time. I just thought this is something I should share with the rest of the world. And I feel really great that it's impacted lots of people. I mean, I've had over 3,000 views. I mean, it's modest, but like over the past 35 weeks, every Monday, no fail, I put a message out there to try and motivate, encourage, and inspire somebody to kind of just, whatever. So I always try and ask what is that one piece of, if you had your Simon Says moment, what's that one piece of motivation, inspiration, and encouragement you kind of give to someone to hype them up, to get them psyched up and like, yo, let's do it. What any particular kind of motivational quote or whatever.
Okay, so check this out, right?
Yeah.
I realized recently that I need to improve my memory.
Okay.
So I'm starting to construct a mind palace.
Wow.
I don't know if you know what that means.
I have no idea.
A mind palace is essentially a place in your mind where you can go and extract information. So it's almost like a filing cabinet.
Okay.
So you deliberately, instead of just learning things passively, you're deliberately going out to learn things, storing them so that you can go back to them at any point.
Wow.
Right. So it could be quotes, it could be like figures, it could be anything like that. Mm-hmm. Certain things you learn just because if you're constantly asking the same questions, you know what the questions are. So it's fine.
Yeah.
But other things you just like, oh yeah, that would be a really good statistic to know.
Yeah.
It's construct a mind palace where you can be like, all right, cool. Someone pulls out a name like Muhammad Ali, and you're like, okay. I need to. When was he born? When did he die? And then you can just blah, blah, blah. So like with Mozart, when was he born? When did he die? Like blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right, he died in 1791. Okay, cool. And he was 35 years old when he died. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. You know what I mean? So I'm starting to construct one, and as part of it, there's a few quotes that I really like and I love, and I'd love to be able to like. So this is really new. Okay. And I know a lot of people know it.
Exclusive on the Simon.
And I really hope I don't get it wrong.
No,
I'll paraphrase in part.
Yeah, you can paraphrase. I do that all the time.
And it just goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. we ask ourselves,
Yeah.
who am I to be beautiful, to be fabulous, to be intelligent? In fact, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that others around you don't feel insecure. We're all meant to shine as children do. We're born with the light of God manifested in us. It's not just in some of us, it's in every single one of us. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And as, how I get this last bit right, as we liberate ourselves from fear, I can't remember the rest of it, but yeah, that's...
Preach!
That
Hallelujah, praise the Lord. I feel like I'm in church right now.
Marianne Williamson
wrote
that.
That's a quotable right there.
And, I try and learn that, and whenever I need to, bam, then it's there. And it's something you touched on it earlier about, you letting your light shine and you being, if you can show yourself to be if you can be who you are and just unapologetically just be like, this is what I am, right? I watch the Simon Tefula Show. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm seeing Simon T says on a Monday, and I'm just like, if Simon can do it, you know what? That means I can do it too. You know, like
I'm touched, bro.
That's it, man. I see The Rock on Instagram. I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it as well. And that's all it is. It's just these people like yourself are just putting themselves out there and being like, this is me. This is what I'm doing. I'm on my journey. If you want to follow me, cool. If you don't want to follow me, that's okay. But I'm doing my thing. You know, and that's it. And so you inspire me to keep going because, there's times when I'm just like, I'm gonna give up. I want to quit. But I don't because I made this, so I can't.
Exactly right. I know, right? Oh my God, yeah, bro. Same. You inspire because when I saw your podcast and how you put diligent work into it, how you get your guests on, this rapport you build with your guests and how you're able to kind of naturally get them flowing and like, I've done lots of interviews and like you meet people and they're a bit dry and they're like, how do you feel in that? Obviously you're not, but like it's like how do you keep? But you have this natural thing. You can get things go. You keep that flow, that rapport. Like I'm like, wow, I need to learn how to do this properly, seamlessly, naturally, like without that whole kind of like awkwardness and stuff. And you've inspired me to do that, but bro, I really appreciate your feedback on that. And like I said, you've kind of given me this feedback, this consistency about just do it, man. Don't, you've given me so many guidance. I really appreciate that. And I think one of the things that comes out of this is that surround yourself with like-minded people on whatever journey you're on. Find a community that will support you, that will kind of nurture you and kind of give you that constructive feedback. Because even after the jazz concert, I met you at this Power Circle event and it just so randomly happened we're in the same space, right? But I think this is one of the things that comes out of this conversation is like if you're trying to do something, man, put yourself out there.
I would even say though, I don't want to find like-minded people, man. Like,
really?
We don't think the same.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like saying find like-minded people. No. I want to find people who don't think like me, but people who are positive, people who are hardworking, and people who are dedicated to what they do. That's what I want to find. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
I don't need more of me. Like I'm enough. Like, but I want to connect with you and whoever's watching because looking at you, right?
Yeah. But you bring up a really good point. Because one of the messages we hear so much in the whole kind of entrepreneurial creative world is surround yourself with like-minded people who think the same. Yeah. And if they're not your supporters, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it just feels like, wait a minute, like if we only support those who support us, if we only talk to those who talk to us, if we only hang out with those who hang out with us, like where does that leave the world? Like if everyone had that mentality, we'll be doomed. Like you have to reach out beyond the chosen. You have to reach out beyond
out of your comfort zone
and just kind of like and be the bigger man or the bigger woman and just say, like let me just I know what the situation is going to be. They're going to be negative, but let me just reach out just because I'm the bigger man or woman.
You never know. You never know what's going to come from that.
You never know, right? Because people from different communities, there's different from different religions and and it's just like they don't want to go there because they're taught to kind of just stick to themselves and let's take back control and like let's build walls and stuff like reach across the wall. reach across the bridge and just go there, man. And just, and this is partly one of the power you guys musicians have, because you can, as an artist, you can kind of like bring people in a space for a moment in time that can, but you're absolutely right. Don't just hang out with like-minded people. Don't just hang out with the usual, the usual suspects. Kind of just reach out to your comfort zone as well. Bro, that's just been deep. That's actually really made me think in terms of that. So anyway, how can people reach out to you if they want to connect, if they want to kind of like, so you have a podcast, socials, obviously your book is available, like, how can people connect with you?
Simple. I wish I didn't quit. You found me.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't quit.com.
Yeah.
You'll find me on Instagram at I wish I didn't quit.
Yeah.
My podcast, I wish I didn't quit podcast.
Yeah.
My book, I wish I didn't quit. Music lessons is like that's what it is. I wish
amazing.
I didn't quit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, bro, it's been an incredible honor to have you on the show, man. Like, it's crazy. There's so many things we can talk about. We can go on for a long time.
Yeah,
but we
have to do it another time.
I know, right? Because we can venture into so many different angles. I just sort of want to give people a holistic view of who you are as a person and, of course, what you do and stuff. I think I didn't ask is in terms of, because obviously you did you train formally as a musician? Or is it something you learned yourself? So you went to music school?
Yeah, I studied. I did a bachelor's and a master's for my sins.
Oh, wow.
As well as, just the lessons of playing and making
Which uni,
lots of
was
mistakes.
that in Germany or?
I went to Kingston. I did my master's.
Okay.
And Anglia Ruskin, I did my bachelor's.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Amazing. Wow. And it was all in music?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yes. So you're probably classically trained musician and academically trained musician.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And street trained.
And street trained,
and church trained. And
wow.
all of that. We just try and cover all bases, man.
Amazing. Cool, bro. Thank you so much. Man. You had it from the man himself. The Simon Tefula Show, episode 10.
Subscribe,
comment, like, share, comment.
All of that. Do it.
Spread the gospel.
Support your boy.
I know, right? So spread the gospel of the Simon Tefula Show.
That's
and
it.
Let's keep it moving, man. Thank you. Episode 10.
Let your light shine, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Quit.
Exactly. You had it from the man, right? That's great, man. Yo.